Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from. It's time for another set of six, and today we're joined by the new board member, Mr. Mike Abromowitz, joining us from Switzerland. G'day, Mike. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Adam. How's it going?
Yeah, great, mate. Thanks for joining us here for a set of six. It's just a getting to know you. You've been recently elected to the new board for the Federation of International Touch. Welcome aboard, and we look forward to working with you. And this session here, just a little bit to get to know a little bit more about Abro, the man I've known for 25 years now. We met all those years back in South Africa, so it's been a bit of a journey. And like I said, this is just a way for the people out there in touch world to learn a little bit more about the people that are representing them on the new board. And as you can see there, we remind people that you can ask questions in the comments if you're watching it live, and we'll pick a few at the end, and we'll throw those questions at Mike as we go. So, mate, what's the Mike Abro story? Give us a little bit of a snapshot about who you are and where you've been.
Mike Abro story. Jeepers. How long do we have, Adam? Mike Abro story. So let's talk about tough stories, I suppose. Grew up in South Africa, really. Went to school there, grew up in South Africa, started work there. In 2000, decided to leave and go to the UK to do some traveling and work, and ended up in London for a whole lot of time. Was there for almost 15 years, and then after that time moved to Switzerland, Zurich, where I currently am, and been here since 2014, mid-2014. So generally, that's sort of the all-encompassing story of me. From a touch perspective, from starting touch, my first memory of touch, I suppose just being a 7-year-old kid playing touch, and we played one touch in South Africa. It's called Tip in Ireland, and I know it played in Fiji as well. But it's just a one-touch game, which is really involves a lot of skill, a lot of sidestepping, a lot of pace. It's a really good game. Played on the beaches mostly and on the grass. So that's what I first started doing. From FIT touch, that was probably 95. It coincided with your involvement with the South African team in Hawaii at the first World Cup, where we sent a side from South Africa out there. Those guys went out and came back, and after being probably taught a very good touch lesson in six touch, which they hadn't played before, came back and brought that back to South Africa. And I suppose the guys who taught me originally were some sort of legends of the South African game: Stu White, Garth McIntosh, Chris Carroll were some of the guys that first taught me. And then allied to that was you and Bones McGovern coming out and running a tournament in a place called Camp Spain Le Med, where we met for the first time, as I recall. So that's sort of what my first memories of touch is growing up as a kid, and then also playing our version of touch as we know it now.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey there. You've touched on the fact that you moved to the UK and eventually ended up in Switzerland. But as far as touch goes, that's you've touched a lot of people, to coin a phrase, in relation to developing the game and taking the game to new heights in those countries. Give us a little bit about the history, and what you've done in respect to coaching and developing the sport around the world.
So I suppose, like everybody, you start as a player and you get to playing, and then by chance or by hook or by crook, you end up, if no one puts their hand up and last man standing is the coach. So I put my hand up, and I think it was 1997, did a club team. We had a local club team, started coaching that, then did the Western Province Ladies B team, then did the Western Province Men's, I think, C team at the time, and then moved across and then still coached club stuff. Came across to the UK, got involved with a club there called Gaparu Box first, locally. Then while I was involved with South Africa still, got involved with England, coached the local clubs there in England, some of the local clubs, the Gurus Club, the Hot Custard Club out there as well. And all those clubs still play, and they're really good, great fun clubs to be involved with. And then got involved with coaching with England, also got involved with the England board at the time, got involved with development coaching with the England ladies in 2002, I think it was 2003. So we're still playing for South Africa at the time, and then converted across to England after that. Coached the ladies, helped coach the mixed. Just was involved then around Europe, coaching, and went to help the French teams, French squad that was coaching at the time. Then Guernsey and Jersey, Scotland as well. My main motivation for that was because the England teams at the time were so far ahead of the other nations, and it just didn't seem it seemed inequitable that we had one squad, the one country that was so strong, and we didn't have other countries that could compete. It wasn't good for the game essentially. So I ended up going out to other countries and trying to get the level of touch up as much as I could help do that. I wasn't the only person. There were some other people who were really intricately involved, especially with England Touch in the early days. Lots of people that were involved from a refereeing perspective. Kirsten Metzger, Chris Wheeler, Greg Burning. There were lots of people from an organisation perspective. Ante Germina, Jeremy Howe, Claire Gregor, Lizette Mayhew was a stalwart at the time. So lots of people have been involved. It wasn't just a one-man show and Abro doing the thing. There were lots of people involved, like it always does take a whole lot of people to do it. And so that's where, basically I got involved with European touch coaching, and then sort of went from there and carried on with that until about 2012 in various guises and forms, until I sort of decided to retire from playing for the first time. I was still playing for 2012 and focus on skiing a bit. So I did a bit of skiing at the time, and then got a couple of bad injuries, and then came back to touch sort of 2015, 16. And coaching across in Australia. I've been very fortunate to be involved with some really wonderful people out in Australia, notwithstanding obviously knowing yourself, and previously with, I suppose a prime influence for me initially was a guy called Keith Harris Walker and yourself in terms of getting involved with the game, which was when we first started playing in South Africa. But luckily across in Australia, been involved with some really good people, Paul Sphere, Tony Trad, a couple of others, Pete Madeira. It's been a great ride so far, and it's been wonderful to be involved with so many people. And it just the nature of our sport is that it's such a community-based sport. You meet so many great people, and it's you go anywhere in the world and you meet someone who's involved with touch, and you have it's something that's in common, and and you always find that touch people are really generally such good people that why wouldn't you want to be involved in a sport?
Yeah, that's right. And it's fair to say, you've mentioned some legends of the game there, people like Tony Trad and also, around the world, Claire Gregor, I remember, did a lot of the heavy lifting there in England, as you mentioned. But it's fair to say that you've had an impact as well in all of those places that you've been to, and the game has developed, and you've always looked to the future of the sport. So I want to know, what's your vision for the future of the sport?
My vision for the sport, I think primarily and firstly, it's so that touch has become, I suppose you'd like anybody, you want it to become your sport, to become the first social sport of choice in as many countries around the world. For anybody who just wants to get fit and have fun in an awesome social environment with the community that's involved. I suppose after that, touch to be recognized more as a recognized sport in more countries around the world. And then with the ultimate aim of our sports to achieve Olympic sport recognition, and then there's a process that follows, but potentially maybe if it's relevant, be an Olympic sport. I suppose you have to look at that and the way that there's been the proliferation of mixed sports that have now become sort of the thing in Olympic sports, especially after this last Olympics in Tokyo. We had all those mixed relays. Our sport, obviously being a mixed sport at its core, and obviously we have male and female as well, but mixed sport being that's
Yeah, it looks like we might have lost Mike there. Hopefully we can get him back. But So we might have picked him up again. You with us, Mike?
I'm with you. Did I miss you out?
Yeah,
Sorry.
he froze up there a little bit, but that's okay. I think we were getting the gist of it. They're talking about the mixed aspect of the game being one of the most, fundamentally important aspects of, promotion and the vision for the sport. You touched on there making it more professional and more recognised. What are some of the challenges you see, and how can they be addressed as a newly elected board member? What's going to be your focus about addressing those challenges?
Challenges. It's an interesting word. I mean, hopefully we can see our way clear to look at that challenges as mainly just opportunities that require us to adapt and change to the way we historically do things. I suppose COVID's been a challenge. That's been a real challenge recently, which seems to, unfortunately now it's rearing its head again in Europe a little bit. But hopefully with all the correct protocols and health procedures, we can get past that. But I suppose the way that the FIT and the NTOs have moved a lot of their content online and engaged in different ways with their members, like the set of 6 that you've been doing so with all the countries, and shows that just there are opportunities even when things initially appear really difficult. My dog is trying to get my attention here. Another challenge, I suppose, is the so-called smaller NTOs struggle for playing and refereeing numbers, but especially more so during COVID. And so I suppose the affordability of FIT membership, which to some might not seem a lot of money, to others it is, and that might be seen as a challenge. But I suppose FIT have historically looked at ways of supporting these members during the times, and so there are various different models they can try and help the members out and navigate through that difficult period. I suppose that would be seen as possibly a challenge, but again, something that's not insurmountable. I mean, basically, what I really believe is that every challenge, no matter how big, just opens a door to a different opportunity or a way of doing things. So, I suppose there's that famous quote that's a countryman of mine said, and it's a famous one. It's Madiba, and he says, "Everything seems impossible until it is done." And so that's what I strongly believe, that a challenge is just an opportunity.
And as I said, having known you for those 25 years, I can attest to the fact that is a personal motto that you see the challenge in most of the things that you try to achieve, and you've certainly achieved a lot of things in the times that I've known you. So I guess one of the things that FIT does to engage its members are tournaments and, the promotion of the sport at an elite level. How do you see the future of tournaments? I mean, you've experienced them as a player, you've experienced them as an official. I don't know that you've ever refereed at an international tournament, but
luckily for teams, I haven't.
Yeah, but from the sideline, you certainly give that a crack. So, what's the future of tournaments? What can FIT do to take the game forward in that respect?
Tournaments-wise, I mean, I suppose it's just making tournaments accessible to as many people as possible. Geographically, having tournaments that are spread around the world regionally that countries can get to, can play at, and can experience touch at its higher level. Some countries, unfortunately, as we know, only experience top level touch. Some of what we're watching, the Malaysian touch here from Malaysia, the World Cup. It's you only experience this once every 4 years, and it's really difficult to develop as a country to the top level when you only play against top teams every 4 years. So trying to get regular competition out in regional areas, I suppose, would be key. Europe's done it really well with the Euros that they have. Their plans afoot for obviously for the Asian Championships. Just to try and get more of these high-level competitions where you've got countries regularly competing against each other instead of once every 4-year cycle. Somehow bringing that in, and I know that there's that with the events team that FIT have got on, that have had historically and do have going forward. I know there are plans afoot to help get that underway. So the more of that, I think, the better, and to get those tournaments up and running as quick as we can, to bring other members into the fold as soon as we can in each regional area. I suppose that would be a really good thing as an events perspective of what I'd like to see FIT from an events side focus on.
An impact on the sport, generally speaking. but there will be a time when we come out of it. So the next World Cup, what are your dreams for the World Cup? What do you want to see? The venue, like not a country where it's going to be, but what are the important aspects of a venue for a fit tournament?
Well, preferably not 55 degrees of heat like we had in Malaysia last time. That's not a function of the country itself. It's just the fact of the time of the year and what we had there. So I suppose what I would look for, really accessible facilities that are high quality, so that we can minimize injuries to players. I suppose that's key. A really strong events organization team that can facilitate a great tournament. There's nothing like you always know where you had a good tournament when you don't know that there's organization happening. Things just happen, and there've been tournaments like that, and at times tournaments are certainly have been like that with FIT, where you just feel that everything's working. I think that would be key. It just changes the experience when you as a player, coach, participant, whatever your role is, you just come to a field, everything's there, you pitch up, you're ready to play, and all you do is roll on the field, roll off the field, do your warm up, do your warm down, and that's all you need to worry about. Those I suppose would be the key things. I mean, naturally the normal things like as much appreciation to the referees who do an amazing job in these circumstances, having good referees across all games, trying to get that standard of refereeing and playing up for our sport. I think, but that's just a function of the event and of the people. So, yeah, I mean, I would hope that would, if we get the events side right, such that there's nothing that feels like it's being run, but it just runs by itself, would be what I would hope to be coming out of events. Yeah,
all of the major tournaments that I've been involved in at a World Cup level, especially, have their challenges. And being on the organising side of things, as you said, it's the duck principle, I guess. The calm on the surface, but below the surface, there have been multiple times where, the wheels were churning very quickly. So our friend Jordan Melling, who gave us a thumbs up earlier, I know he's a good friend of Abro. Manchester's really nice in May as a venue. Not too sure about that.
It's not, Jordan. It's May. You didn't say which day in May. It's nice. It's not a month. It's a day. But just find the day and we can run an event down that day.
I guess we've had another comment there too from Rebecca in relation to tournaments. Good streaming for tournaments, please. That's another aspect, Mike. As a promotion for the sport, it's the challenges around good streaming. But I know that we're making steps there with some good partnerships around the world.
Yeah, I mean, that's been a huge step up in the last sort of maybe three years since I mean, from a World Cup perspective, 2018 Youth World Cup, also from the Euros perspective with the BBC coverage that the Euros got. I mean, that's just priceless. And absolutely having more games streamed. I mean, everybody wants to see themselves play touch, except the older people like me who think we're running backwards when we're running. It's definitely more to be done for streaming, getting that up as much as we could, within budget guidelines. Yeah, the more touch we see, the more people we see playing, I think the better.
It's been great to be able to sit back here in Australia and watch the European touch that's taken off again, and to see England taking on Wales and Scotland and all of those games progressing. And as you said, the World Cup is one thing, but to see those tournaments and the NTLs here, the youth champs in Australia that are broadcast to the world, just to sit and watch the competition on the field, but also see the engagement by the people in the comments as well from all around the world. Touch is truly an international game. So, thanks, Rebecca, for that. That is some really good insight. And, it is a fact. We need better streaming. We need those partnerships with people like the BBC from England that get us those sorts of things on the field. So now a bit more of a personal question, mate. We've got a bit of a curly one for you. As a leader, are you more inspired by former Liverpool gaffer Jurgen Klopp, Richmond FC's Ted Lasso, or England rugby coach Eddie Jones?
Ooh, loaded question. I mean, it's actually a loaded question, but it's an easy question for me. I mean, let's start with Richmond FC's Ted Lasso. I mean, a true inspirational leader. He's taking a team of nothings into everything, and he has some strong views on leadership. Let's just say he's probably number 3 for me, as much as I love him. England rugby coach Eddie Jones, interesting guy, really technical, really good guy. I've done a little bit of coaching with him. Really good coach, a really strong man manager, in a different guise to Jurgen Klopp, but a stickler for detail. But as a Liverpool supporter, I'm obviously going to go for Jurgen Klopp. What he's done for Liverpool, how he treats his players, the culture that he's created at that club. Such a huge club, and he's come and just stamped his name all over it. He leads. He's a man of action, a man of deeds. What he says happens. You always know where you stand with him. It's the kind of guy who wears his heart on his sleeve. That's the kind of guy that I would follow as a lead. If he was a leader, I would go behind him for sure.
Yeah, as you said, they're all very important people in their own right. Even though Ted Lasso obviously is a fictional character, but I think he represents what's out there in sport in general, and the promotion of the game and the love of the game and treating people, as you said, touch people are the lifeblood of our sport. And it's, to me, the people are what makes this game so special. And it's treating the people right and giving them what they want. So from a fit perspective, we talk about the future of tournaments. It's about giving the people what they want, the best possible tournament. The easiest way for them. They should just be able to turn up and play in a well-controlled tournament. Great facilities, as you said. The development of the sport, as far as the resources that FIT put out there, with the support of all of the nations around the world that are promoting the game. They're the key things, but it's the people giving them what they want in the clearest possible way. And Jurgen Klopp, as you said, has certainly done that at Liverpool. So some good insight there. And I know you've actually worked with Eddie Jones personally, so you're able to talk about
with him. It's a very short time, just doing some stuff before the 2019 World Cup. Did a little bit with him. I would never say that we stood on an equal footing as coaches, but yeah, I did some stuff with him, so I got a good insight to how he thinks and what his main drivers are. So interesting character, as I said, very very detailed, very good man manager, and knows when to step back and let people who are involved, be it attack coaches, defense coaches, whatever they are, do their thing. He's really good at that.
We've had another comment here too that I really like from Cheryl. Love that touch is an all-inclusive game. The all abilities is the way to go. I see, obviously here in Australia, I can speak from the personal perspective. The all abilities game is really taking off, and I've seen also that around the world that the division for the all abilities is taking off. How do you see that being part of the future of the game?
I would absolutely love that. I mean, I being obviously coming to NTLs and seeing that firsthand and seeing what great strides have been made there. I know Danny Davis has been very involved with that on the ground there, and lots of other coaches as well across the board. I would absolutely love to see more of that development happen around the world. Not as much takes place in Europe that I am aware of that could take place. I think it's all a numbers thing. Based on the numbers of how many players you've got, and Australia is a good example of how many social players and competitive players you have versus around the rest of the world. I think that all filters down into whatever levels we can develop. I would love to see that as part of a national tournament if we could have that. Be join part of a regional tournament that we have, so that it's not just an NTLs where it happens, but have it everywhere. That would anything like that which encourages more people to play, the community at large, is good for our game.
I mean, touch has always been a game for all shapes and sizes, and the all abilities really puts the the cap on that. It's an outstanding innovation in the game. And as you said, some great people have put their time and energy into developing that part of the sport. So, more power to them, and hopefully we can see that participation increase around the world. Well, mate, a bit of a wrap up here. I want to throw some rapid fire questions at you. Short and sharp, just a couple of choices, and I think you'll get the gist. And we might build on your responses at the end of it. But you ready to go? You ready to face the rapid fire?
Okay, let's go.
All right. So it's all about preferences here. Summer or winter?
Winter.
Winter. Beer or wine?
Wine.
Red or white?
Red.
Red. So if you were to have a beer, is it draft or lager?
Draft.
Do you prefer it the English way warm or the South African way cold?
Hold every single time.
Fair enough. Cheese platter or fruit platter?
Fruit platter.
Fruit platter. Fair enough. Surf or turf? Are you a meat man
Surf.
or are you a fish man? Surf.
I'll go surf. For growing up in Cape Town, that's a surf.
Beautiful South African seafood. Dog or cat person?
Dog.
Dog. Sport or family?
Oh,
curly one to finish off.
Family.
Beautiful. Well said. But you can have your family at the sport as well. That's what I like about this.
Ideally that would be what I'd like.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, winter. You mentioned earlier on that you turned your hands to skiing. Touch on that. When you said you turned your hand to skiing, it wasn't just throwing your skis down a slope. There was a little bit more to it.
Yeah, it was something that I'd been doing for a couple of years. I felt I was coming to the end of playing touch competitively. I thought at the time. Obviously, I was wrong because I started playing again. But I thought, well, I like skiing. Let me just take up skiing a bit more. And so, how do you become a better skier? Well, train to be a ski instructor. So that's what I did. I took up training as a ski instructor to better myself at skiing primarily. And then as I went through the thing, I managed to get a little bit better at it, and then ended up getting involved in some races and some race training. And then as you progress, you do certain more courses, and one of them is a race course. You do some race training for a GS race you have to do as part of your ski instructor qualifications. And during that training, my ski coach who was also the performance director for the Paralympic team at the time, suggested that I might be suitable to maybe look at becoming a guide for the Paralympic team if I was interested, because they were looking for guides at the time. And so I said, sure. And I ended up, as part of the British Paralympic team, leading, what the idea was to lead up to the Pyeongchang Olympics 2018. And so I started skiing with them in 2016 with Millie Knight, who's now gone on to much greater and better things skiing with their squad. Yeah, so I ended up doing that for a period of time. Went to Aspen, skied a couple of World Cup races. Were lucky enough to got a couple of medals. And that was one of the, principally one of the most humbling experiences you'll ever have. Seeing, people say it's quite difficult being a guide of a person who's visually impaired, taking them down a slope, and it's absolutely nothing compared to the people behind you. The admiration and I have for those athletes who are basically at times going over 100 kilometers an hour on a downhill pitch effectively without seeing. They have small vision. There's different types of impairment, but the ability for them to have that trust that they build in you as a person to take them down safely is incredible. It's something that was massively humbling. I was very lucky to do it. Unfortunately, after that period in Aspen, I went away and did some personal training and for my own ski races, and then had a very bad knee injury, which then unfortunately ruled me out of helping the team go to Pyeongchang. So I didn't quite go to the Olympics. Skied some World Cup finals races, but yeah, and thankfully Millie Knight has gone into some bigger and better things. Did some amazing skiing. She has a great guide called Brett Wild now, and they're still together, which is fantastic.
Awesome. Yeah. But I guess that goes to the insight that you'll be able to bring to the sport of touch, having experienced things like that, the highs and the lows that sport can bring. And it's interesting you touch on there the people, that have their challenges, the visually impaired. And we talked about the All Abilities before. And another comment there from Cheryl, who said that her daughter was one of the players at the NTL's that won the grand final. And she's now about to become a level 3 referee as well. So, the game is for everybody, and that is just awesome. Cheryl, and congratulations to your daughter on that grand final victory. I remember watching that, and I had the absolute privilege and honor to commentate those games. So, yeah, there's certainly memories that will long live in my mind. And we've also had another comment there from Jordan directed straight at you, Abro. What are the chances of a Great Britain Lions tour before he retires?
It was being looked at, obviously, in conjunction with the past Lions tour that went to South Africa at a time. Unfortunately, with COVID, obviously that went down the tubes, unfortunately. But I would love to see a Lions tour happen. I mean, it's the greatest honor of a player in the home unions and the islands lives to do that. So why not from a touch perspective? Before you retire, George, I'm not sure how long you've got because you're getting on. So we'd have to do it quickly if we have to get you involved.
The best part about this game, Mike, there's divisions for everybody. And just back at Cheryl, I certainly do remember Natalie, one of the most beautiful smiles in the game. And I remember how it lit up when that final siren went in her grand final. So, yeah, Cheryl, she has left an indelible impression on everybody that watched those tournaments. She was leading light on the field. And as I said, the smile at the end of it was something that people that watch that game will remember for a long, long time. So, Mike, it's been great having you on board and getting to know a little bit more about you. Is there anything you want to say to round us out for the evening?
Anything I want to say to round you out for the evening?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I lost you there for a second. You just you went fine. No, I mean, I just think speaking from a new board member perspective, I mean, it's a really exciting time for us in touch now with what's happening with the new board that's been put in place. There's a huge amount to be done. For me, it's I really want to get the engagement up between FIT and its members. Really try and get the understanding of what our members want to see from FIT more. What we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, what we should continue to do. Just to get the understanding from our members that, as much as we lead from FIT's point of view, we're leading it for our members and for the players, the participants, and everybody who's involved with the game. And we need to understand what every country sees as their main priority for themselves, and also as a global whole for the game, where we all see touch going, so that as the board we can help lead that. A board never makes all the right decisions all the time, but with enough consensus and enough engagement and consultation with the members, hopefully we can get to a point where members see that we're doing the right things for the right reasons for them.
Awesome. Mate, as I said, I've known you for 25 years now, and I know the passion and dedication that you're going to bring to the role. You've left that mark already in the countries and the teams that you've worked with. And I really look forward to seeing the impact that you're going to have on the FIT board with some of the new members of that board as well. As you said, the newly elected board. Lots of changes going on, the direction of FIT. But I'm excited to see what you guys can to bring to our sport and tap into that grassroots level that you talked about and deliver what's best for the game to all of the people, the masses. So thanks for joining us tonight, and I look forward to catching up with you somewhere around the world when international travel gets back up and running and seeing you out there on the touch field somewhere.
Yeah, it's great. Thanks so much. Really appreciate the time.
So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. That's another set of 6. We'll introduce the rest of the board to you over the coming weeks, and hopefully they'll be as engaging as Mike was there. And we look forward to those interviews and more people talking to us and asking the questions of the board members. It's great to have that insight of the guys that are going to be directing the direction of our game, taking us forward. So great to have everybody online. We look forward to catching up with you in the next couple of weeks with another board member. So until then, bye for now.